am joined on Skype now by Don Thomas. Now, Don is an engineer with a doctorate in material science from one of America's most prestigious universities. He is currently the director of the Hackerman Academy of Mathematics and Science. And between 1991 and 2007, Don was a NASA astronaut flying as a mission specialist on 4 space shuttle missions. Don, I am enormously privileged to have you calling in today to offer me advice because, as you know, I'm on this mission to hack my way into space this weekend. You're one of the world's most experienced and accomplished astronauts. You've been awarded NASA's Exceptional Service Medal. You trained for years to prepare for your numerous missions into space. Now, given that I have slightly less time to prepare, what are the most important things that you've learned that you think I'm going to have to do to prepare for this mission?
All right, John. Well, good morning, and it's great to be here with you today. I think the 2 things you better work on the most and to focus on is to make sure you do everything safely.
Yep.
The safety is #1 for us, because you make a mistake, you do something wrong, you can kill yourself, you can kill all your crewmates and ruin the mission, and you don't want that to happen. So whatever you do, you want to make sure you're doing it safely. And the second important thing I would suggest is try to work together as a team. That's so important in everything that you do in space, that it's not just you, but you're working with this team, all your astronauts, fellow astronauts, and the ground team as well. It's important that you all work together. And finally, whatever your role is going to be on the mission, whatever it is that you're going to be doing and what you're responsible for, make sure you know that so well, because the rest of your crew is going to be depending on you to do that, your expertise, and you want to make sure you got your part of the mission all ready to go.
This is something I definitely need to get clear on. Today I'm doing this pretty much on my own. This morning I've basically met my team and my crew. We have an awful lot of work to do. Everyone's very good. Everyone's working together at the moment. But because I know you worked not only flying, obviously, missions, but on the ground and worked as Capcom as well. So that massively important job of having to communicate with the crew that are flying as well.
Correct. Yeah, you need to learn the language, and you learn to kind of read their emotions. You know the crew that's up there fairly well as a Capcom, so you know when they're getting upset, or you know when they're in a good mood, and then you can, ease up sometimes on the pressure if they're under stress, or if they're doing great, you can feel free to ask them to do that, extra special activity for you.
That is an extraordinary skill to be able to know that. And I suppose this thing about how people are feeling when they're up there as well, because you've spent 44 days in space, you've orbited the Earth 600 times. I mean, how did you feel the first time that you went up there and were able to...
Houston, we have a problem is the right phrase for that.
It was, so stay calm. This would be, I'm sure this is the advice Don would give me. The connection's gone, just stay calm. Trust the crew, trust the ship.
Go to your procedure and work this out. Find out what the problem is.
So there we were, talking about, how it feels. How did you feel going up and seeing the Earth for that first time? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember it so vividly. The first time I went up, I looked out the window, and I saw the curvature of the Earth, bright blue planet there. And what struck me the most was how the sky was so pitch black. It's darker than any color I've ever seen. I've gone spelunking and caving. You shut off all the lights, so it is pitch black, but looking out at the sky at night is even blacker than that from space. And I tell people it's almost like a fluorescent black, like it's glowing black, which, that's a hard concept. Like, what do you mean glowing black? But it has almost texture to it, but it is such pitch black, and then the curvature of the Earth, the limb of the Earth, comes right up against that blackness, and you have that fuzzy, thin layer of our atmosphere. And the first time you see this with your eye, you just gasp. It's like, oh, wow, how beautiful. And it's pretty much the same for every astronaut the first time they fly. The first thing that you do is you gasp, because you can't believe how beautiful it is. Even if you've seen the pictures, you've seen the big movies of space, but when you see it with your own eyes and the subtle color variations, and you just see that in person, it takes your breath away literally, and you gasp.
Wow. I am looking forward to having that experience.
It's a great one.
I mean, that experience of of that event, but also all the other days and time that you spent in space. How has that affected you as a human being?
You know, I think the biggest change that I have of being in space is just the appreciation for how fragile our planet is. You know, from space, you see how thin the atmosphere is. You know, it's 30 kilometers thick, most of it, that's protecting us. And you see that as a little tiny thin band around the planet. You see how we're polluting the air. And, you know, river deltas dumping pollution into oceans and lakes. You can see that with your eye. On my first flight, the entire continent of South America was under a smoke pall from burning down the rainforest. And I had never thought, I knew we were burning the rainforest, but I thought, okay, this is a small regional, state, country problem. But it was affecting the entire continent of South America, and hence it's affecting our entire planet. So from being in space, coming back, you really, it changes your perspective of the planet, that this place is infinite, a very fragile planet, and our atmosphere isn't infinite. It's a very thin layer. Our oceans aren't infinite. We can't trash them. We can't pollute them. We've got to take better care of the entire planet. And that's probably the greatest change that occurred to me from my missions to space. But other than that, it's just, I come back with this incredible wealth of new experiences, from what it's like to float around in space, what it's like to see a thunderstorm from above, what it's like to see shooting stars from above the Earth, not on its surface, but looking down on top of the shooting stars entering the atmosphere. It's all those things that just change you. It's like, wow, I've had so many incredible experiences on that trip. And that's what you're going to see here later today, hopefully.
It's the level of excitement that is rising inside me, just listening to you talking about it, is making my heart go fast, which probably wouldn't be a good thing. I'd probably not make it through some of the tests.
I think it's all natural. All of our heartbeats get pounding during exciting moments.
Because when we met recently in South Africa at SciFest Africa, and you were helping us run a program to recruit some potential astronauts for the future through Space Camp, I told you about a campaign that I'm hoping to start about this idea of the perspective, the actual perspective that it is possible to get when you see the Earth from space. And I thought maybe that's something good that our political leaders would really benefit from. And so wouldn't it be a great idea to host the next G8 summit in space, so they can literally get some perspective? Now, and at the time, I don't know if you were humouring me, you seemed to think that wasn't a bad idea, with the perspective of a few weeks. Do you still think that's a good idea?
It's still a great idea, and our leaders should go up there and see our planet, because again, you see it as one planet when you're up there. As you're going around it, it only takes an hour and a half to orbit the planet, and you see it as one object there in space. And the borders kind of disappear when you're up there. You don't look down and see the different countries of Africa or Europe. You just see the continent there, a landmass. And I think for our leaders to go up there to see that, it would be a great perspective for them. I think everybody on Earth should go up there. And it would change everybody's perspective of how we take care of this planet, how we see it, and how we need to work together as a team on this, because, you know, the phrase is, you know, it's Spaceship Earth. And that's what we're hurtling through space on Spaceship Earth. And we have to see that as one spacecraft that we all need to work together with, you know, as teamwork, as one team, as we hurtle through space.
That's a very beautiful thought. Makes me think as well of us being a bit like Battlestar Galactica. You know, but that idea of us being forced into a position where we really have to do it together, everyone, and that's actually the position that we're in right now. So
I think we're in that position, and if we can get away without being in there right now, you know, in the future, we're not far from hey, we're in trouble. We need to get out of this, mess that we're in.
Yeah. Okay. But we're approaching this with optimism, I say that I have a spaceship called Optimism. That's my spaceship.
Excellent.
But I am feeling, you know, all of this, the problem that we're in right now. But if I'm honest, feeling a bit nervous about this trip. You know, I don't feel properly prepared at the moment, and it's not without its dangers. And I'm just wondering, you know, did you ever feel, you know, scared?
Scared? Yeah, if I was totally honest with you, I'd tell you, yeah, I was scared a little bit on launch morning. When you strap into the space shuttle and you know you're minutes away from blasting off, and you know that next 8.5 minutes is going to be a wild ride. That's the most dangerous part of the mission. You've got 500,000 gallons, you know, of explosive fuel there that you're sitting on top of. You have to be a little bit scared. And I always tell people, if an astronaut tells you that they're not scared, they're either stupid or they're lying to you, because I don't think you can do something like that and not be a little bit scared. So I'm maybe 25% scared and 75% excited. And I compare it to going to an amusement park. If you're riding on a roller coaster or some great ride like that, and you strap in and you're a little scared about the experience that's coming, but you're mainly excited about it. And that's what it's like on launch morning. The big difference is we got about a 1 in 65 chance that you're going to blow up during launch. And that is why you have that little element of fear back there. And if you've ever seen pictures of the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up, that's in the back of your head.
Yeah.
You have that image. You know what can happen, that this isn't a fantasy. This is real. We could have a problem. I hope it doesn't happen. We've got great people that prepare our rockets. You'll have great people hopefully working on your rocket today when you get up there. And so you have the confidence to get inside, to strap in, and do that mission. But there's always a small piece of me, at least, that said, boy, I hope this works okay today. So I'm always a little bit scared, but I think that's respecting technology, just being respectful of reality. But I still wanted to do it. I was ready to go each time.
That's really heartening to hear. So, because now I know that it's all right for me to feel that way. Because you're right, I am mostly excited as well. I've been asking some of our younger agents some questions, saying that I was going to be talking to you today, and they've been sending me some questions through the internet. And I didn't know whether it was right to talk about, you know, fear, but I think it's something that we all should be able to acknowledge if we're going to achieve the difficult things we're going to achieve.
Right. You know, when I was an astronaut, I don't know anybody who talked about that at all. And on one of my missions, on my second flight, one of the first-time flyers came up to me the day before launch. And they said, hey, are you scared at all? And I said, yeah, I'm scared. You know, you ought to be a little bit scared. You know, you don't want to be overwhelmed by it, but I think that's a healthy respect for what you're about to do. And you're in touch with reality. So that was the one and only time that anybody ever brought that up, or you're scared. It's one of those things that we don't talk about in the astronaut office at all. You're not scared. And even if you're scared, hey, I want to do this. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And, so we suppress that fear, and the excitement, the enthusiasm just carries you through the day.
Sounds cool.
So it's okay if you're a little scared today. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm betting that I'm going to settle down with it, and it's definitely helping talking to you, knowing that that's okay as well. I have a question for you that my wife wondered this, actually. She wanted to know if there was, because she doesn't really understand why I want to do this and to go to space and what was that. She said if there was one thing you could change about space, is there one thing that you could change, if you could, you would change about space?
About the experience, I mean, that's a great question. It is such a unique environment. I almost don't want to tinker with it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to mess it around. I don't want to make it more Earth-like because it's unique in what it is up there. The things that I would miss the most up in space was definitely your family and your friends. I felt totally detached from the Earth. I could see my planet down below me, 200 miles, 300 kilometers below me. I could see the Earth. I could see my hometown. You know, I can't see my house, but I can see the city where my family's at. But yet, I can't touch them. I can't get in contact with them. So I felt like I was just 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Earth. And so that was something that's a little hard. You feel this detachment. So if you could take your family up there, your friends up there, you know, that would be great. If you could take your favorite foods up there. I love pizza. We have no pizza in space. So if we could stop at a pizzeria up there, you know, that would improve the experience. But again, I wouldn't mess with that. Space is, it's really cool as it is. And I think you want to go up there and enjoy what it is instead of tinkering with it too much.
Yeah,
Would
and
improve.
much as you miss pizza, none of us are going to be lobbying for Pizza Hut to be able to get
That's
a
right.
drive-through up there. That's not what
That's
we want.
right.
Because this is a big question for me as well. I get asked a lot as the director of human spaceflight operations at Unlimited Space Agency, why do you want to do this? What are the reasons? What benefit is there to Earth, life on Earth? It's when there's so much that we need to fix right down here. Why should we go to space and invest that time and that money? Why do you think we should, Don?
That's a classic question that's been asked since day one of the space program. How can you go to the moon when we have hungry people here on planet Earth? And how could you, invest any money in going into space exploring when we have such problems here? And you definitely cannot ignore the problems that we have here on Earth. We've got to take care of our homeless people, hungry people, famine conditions. We've got to help everybody on this planet. But as human beings, we also have to explore. We've never stopped everything we're doing on this planet to fix one of the problems. We continue exploring, expanding. We always, are trying to gain more knowledge about our planet, our universe, and we just can't stop that. I think that's what makes us human as well. We're compassionate people, but we are also explorers. And that's that exploring part that says, let's go. We're going to go up into space. We're going to explore the universe, look for other life out there, look for other places to live, and just try to figure out how we got here on planet Earth. So I think we have to do both things. You cannot ignore homelessness, hunger. We've got to help that, but we must explore as human beings.
I agree with you, and I think it's a bold and a brave and in some ways a stupid thing to do because of all of those reasons. But that's part of being human and finding out things that there's no other way that we would have found that out unless we had done something stupid.
And John, we've got a lot of benefits from space that have helped. The world hunger. We've got satellites, Earth resource satellites that can photograph the planet, and we understand drought conditions, and we can map crops. So we can get a much better view. We've got weather satellites that can predict hurricanes, so we know, or typhoons, we know when one's coming, we can give out warnings. So we've got a lot of benefits from space exploration so far that help everybody on this planet. And now, 34 years later, we take those for granted. We take the weather forecast for granted in our weather satellites and predictions of crop production. We take all that for granted, but that's all that is a byproduct of our space exploration and the money that we've invested in space.
Yeah, and this conversation that we're having now, this conversation which is being bounced by satellites across the globe that we're separated by, that was Arthur C. Clarke, and trying to imagine, that was literally science fiction. He just had a NASA-sized budget to make that science fact.
Right. When I was a little boy, this would not be possible. We couldn't do anything like this. We'd be writing a letter and putting it in the mail, and 2 weeks later you would hear from me.
Which would be nice, but,
It'd be a long interview.
Yeah. Before you became an astronaut, you studied physics, you were an engineer, and do you think of yourself, describe yourself as an astronaut or a scientist, or both?
I think definitely both. Being an astronaut makes you need to be a good scientist to be an astronaut as well. Because astronauts aren't just flying the ship like a pilot, they're also observers up there. And on 3 of my 4 flights, they were dedicated science missions. So we would do hundreds of different science experiments from around the United States and around the world as well from researchers. So you need to be an excellent scientist, a good observer, so that you can do the experiment up there and report what you're seeing down to the ground to the scientists that are listening in mission control. And if you see something unusual, you need to be able to report that, observe it and report it, try to figure out what's going on. So I think being a good scientist, being a good engineer, it's all part of being a good astronaut. And that was an important part of my career at NASA.
I'm pleased. I think it's important for some of our young agents to understand as well that not many people are going to get to go up, and that a big part of your career, 44 days was spent in space. A lot of that would have been spent training for those missions, but also you were doing a huge amount of really important, vital work in terms of research and that engineering research and being a scientist with NASA on Earth as well.
That's right. You're not just floating around looking out the window the whole time. We're up there to do work, and typically, again, we'd be doing operating experiments for scientists on the ground. Those scientists would love to go up there and do their own experiments, but on a mission like that, we can't send 200 scientists along, so they pick mission specialists, astronauts like myself that are trained scientists. We go up there, we can operate them, we can observe what's going on, we can observe our planet and report back what we're seeing. And that's a lot of what a scientist does. You observe, you report back, you ask questions, try to figure out what's going on. And so that's an important trait for all your young students there, to learn the skills in mathematics and science and in engineering as well. And that'll make you great astronauts in the future. And you're going to need those skills when you go to the asteroids and when you go on to Mars. And that's where your students are going to be heading in the future. And we're going to need them reporting back to us about what they're seeing and what's going on so that we can help them here on planet Earth.
Cool. So what's the best advice that you have for any of my agents, my younger agents that are thinking about, I want to get into space in the future? What do they need to do?
I wanted to do this since I was 6 years old. And what I decided, I knew I needed to do my best and work hard in school. My absolute best in all my subjects. Math and science, but also reading, history, art, physical education. You need to give everything your best shot, because you never know when one of those skills is going to help you out in the future. So I tell the students, work hard, always do your best, and never give up on that dream. It took me a long time to get into space. I dreamed of doing this since I was 6 years old, and I didn't make it up there until I was 39. That's a long time to be waiting around for something like that, to be working towards it. But it was worth it. So I tell the students, don't give up. Don't say, I'm not going to do that because it's too hard, or I'm not going to do that because it'll take too long. All that hard work that you put into your schoolwork and in school and then in university in the future, that's going to pay off for you big time. I worked hard and I got to go around the Earth nearly 700 times. These students will work hard. They will do equally, if not more, amazing things, on their missions in the future.
I think this is something that's coming through. I spoke to Dr. Alex Kumar, who's the research medical doctor at the Concordia station, Antarctica, earlier, and his message was, don't let go of your dreams. Work hard, don't let go of your dreams. And I think it's important that, because I think maybe our agents and our young learners hear this a lot, but maybe don't believe it. But I think hearing you and Alex.
Yeah, and this stuff doesn't come easy. You don't become an astronaut like that. It takes a lot of hard work. You got to want to do it, and you got to chase it. Chase that dream of yours. It doesn't just magically appear like winning a lottery. It takes a lot of hard work. So you got to be focused. You got to want that bad. You got to kind of want it inside. And then if you're willing to work hard and not give up, to be persistent in it, I'm confident your learners there can go anywhere they want to in life and in this universe.
It's awesome. Don, one final piece of advice for me. I'm going to space tomorrow, hopefully. What is the one thing that you need to tell me before I go?
The one thing I would tell you, I want to wish you the best of luck, but also enjoy every second of it. Your time up in space is limited. I'm almost 57 years old. I've spent 44 days in space. It's a small, small fraction of my life. So the experience doesn't last forever. It's very finite. So you want to take in all that you can from that experience. Look out the window, see as many sunrises and sunsets as you can. Look for unusual things like shooting stars and other satellites. Enjoy the camaraderie of your crew when you're up there. But stop and think about where you're at when you're up there. You'll have a lot of work to do, but think about for a moment where you're at. Take it in as a human being and try to remember everything that you can, every experience, so you can share it with learners in the future as well.
Thank you. Do you know what? I wouldn't have consciously thought I think I would have expected to enjoy it, but taking the time to remember to enjoy it, it's a good lesson for anyone to know about anything they're doing. Are you enjoying what you're doing? Just take a moment, find a way to enjoy it.
Just take it in, because you won't be up there for long. It'll be a brief part of your life, and it's so unique. So you want to take it all in and remember as much of it as you can.
Thank you, Don. Thank you so much for your time today. Enormous privilege for me and for the other agents that will get to hear you talking about your experiences. Thank you. I hope that we can stay in touch. Maybe we can send each other those letters.
Let's do that. We'll try that. It'll take a while, but look for the letter. And John, good luck on your mission, and to all your agents out there, your future space travelers, good luck to them.
Thank you, Don.
I hope the missions are successful as well. If any of them end up on the planet Mars one day, I would ask them, please give me a call back. I want to hear firsthand what that trip was like. So have them promise to give me a call or send me a letter when they get back.
I'm going to make them make that promise. Our young agents. There we have. Look, I don't know if you can see that's my mission to Mars.
That's
mission
right.
badge. We are going in 2035. That is our ambition. We're going to be sending those people.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I wish I could be part of that.
Well, we'll give you a ring.
I'm afraid I'm too old, but I'd love to go with you.
Right, Don, thank you so much again. Have a wonderful weekend. I look forward very much to speaking to you again in the future, I hope.
Okay, John, it's been a pleasure.
Take care, man.
Take care. Cheers.